Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In the news for the last several weeks, real estate, which is normally the most boring topic on the planet, has become the most hottest topic on the planet. As we've talked about supply chain issues, we've talked about interest rates, we've talked about Zillow, and now it seems like we're talking about a fizzling in the hot market. Is it really cooling off? There was an article that came out recently, and it was talking about the Dallas area, and all over Texas for that matter. And as we know, Texas has been extremely hot, and found it really interesting because I talk to real estate agents in Texas all the time. We're going to be pulling that article up in just a second, but I do want to say to you as a warning. So in several of my videos, and even some of my community posts on my YouTube channel, I've had a massive problem with spam bots. It's like playing whack-a-mole. Every time I try to eliminate them, block them from the channel, they just come out somewhere else. And I can't go through hundreds and hundreds of comments to try to get rid of them all. The problem is that these people are scamming you using my profile picture. Let me go ahead and I'm going to show you exactly what these. Eddie's pulling it up right now. I want to show you what this looks like because it's a real problem because people are thinking that they're speaking to me. They're using like fake phone numbers and they think that they're texting me back and forth. And it's like a cryptocurrency type of scam. Eddie has it. Just scroll down just a scotch. There you go. So whenever I reply to you in the comment section, you'll see me as highlighted. But whenever you see like a name that says like, it says my name in it, but it isn't highlighted, that is not me. It doesn't have the check mark. It is not highlighted. If you see something that says replied Kristina Smallhorn, that is not me. And if you see something that kind of looks like my profile picture and it's just circular, that's not me. I will never ask you to text a certain number. I will never ask you to do a WhatsApp number. I will never, ever, ever, ever ask you to purchase any kind of cryptocurrency. That is not what my channel is about. My channel is focused on real estate. And I know that there's a lot of other channels that focus on real estate and talk about these things too, but that's not what I talk about. I'm trying to find affordable housing options for all of you. So just be careful when you're speaking to anybody online. If you're unsure if it's me, look, all my contact information is in every single video. You can contact me. And if you need to get a hold of me for a referral, you can always go to my website, which is KristinaSmallhorn.com. And you can just click the referral part. You can hear my cat. Let's see if you can see him. Yeah, the cat wants you to know that too. The cat's like, yeah, don't fall for the scam bots. don't fall for the scam bots. Somebody did. I've gotten a few phone calls, and I'm concerned for all of you. So I just want you to be highly aware that this is one of those things that's been going on. And like I said, all my contact information is there, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. I will get back to you most likely on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So anyways, let's get back to what we're really here for, which is we're going to be talking about the cooling of the housing market with this article that I found talking about Texas. And we're going to be talking to our favorite real estate agent from Texas, and that is Matt Kelderman. Here he is. Hello, my friend. Hello. And we're going to be pulling up this article, and I'm going to be reading part of it to you. Oh, no.
I'm here for the cat antics at this point.
I know. The cat is something. And I can't stop it because he's so freaking handsome.
Yeah. I did see him poke his little head out from the thing. It was like, that's a good looking cat.
We'll talk about T-spams. I saw you come up. We'll talk about the house rising property taxes in just a minute. So the hot housing market is cooling off in Texas is what the headline reads. And we're going to scroll down just a scotch here. It says the Texas housing buying frenzy is over, according to research economists for the Texas Real Estate Research Center at Texas A&M University. Both housing sales growth and housing price growth have peaked in slowing, says Dr. Luis Torres. In addition, months inventories, listings, and days on the market have reached through and are beginning to rise. Torres says Texas housing sales accelerated after COVID-19 pandemic shutdowns the economy in spring of 2020. This caused an already depleted inventory of homes for sale to reach historic lows and led to exuberant home prices and growth. Torres says the housing sales numbers were hindered by the lack of homes available for sale. So sales are possibly not going to be possibly not the best indicator of when the housing market is started to slow. Matt Kelderman, I have talked to several other real estate agents in the Texas markets, and they're like, I don't know what they're talking about. I have so much business right now. I don't even know like, and I'm like, are you pulling my leg or is this just, and they're like, no, like I cannot find enough houses. There's not enough houses for sale in my
Yes.
area. There is no slowing of any market here. And I'm talking about agents in San Antonio. I'm talking about agents in Austin, Texas. I've talked to an agent in Houston, Texas, but they didn't rise as much as some of the other areas. Now you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Is this true for your area?
We've seen two things that I think kind of are evidence of what the article's talking about. Days on market have absolutely moved up across the board, right? We're such a huge metroplex here that I think there's some aspect of it that we're always gonna have pockets that are really hot, but overall days on market have ticked up and builders have inventory again. That's the other thing to me that we were not seeing for a long time. Now there's really hot neighborhoods where builders still don't have any inventory. I went to one last week and there's like 6 builders in there and all of them just had signs on the door like we're sold out, go to our website, right? Like there wasn't even
Mhm.
anybody on the site anymore. So I still think in pockets there are, but sure, I think a little bit of it might be the time of year too, but there's definitely a bit of a slowing down and days on market are ticking up, and I've seen that for sure.
Traditionally in the real estate market, this time of year, when like, especially right after Halloween, this is the, sit back and relax time of our careers, basically, normally. And there usually is, well, actually, there's less people buying and then there's less people selling. And it's just kind of like a chill out time. It isn't normal for people to like sell their house unless they have to at this time of year, especially when you're heading into the holiday season. Nobody wants to put a Christmas tree up because they're selling their house. And, so they're like, oh, we'll just wait until after the first of the year. And then February around Mardi Gras time, then it picks back up. And that was expected. All the economists had said that that was most likely going to happen in 2021. But I also said that I've been saying that the fourth quarter of this year was going to see a little bit dip in the days on the market, and maybe with some builders might start giving incentives again. And I did see in our area that the builders are giving some incentives to home buyers, whether it be closing costs or like refrigerators. So to me, if you're looking, because the Fed has already said they're going to raise rates, there's just no question about it. They are going to do it. To me, if you're starting to see these incentives to purchase, that maybe that this would be the time before interest rates go up, because even though the house might go down, you might have a higher interest rate. So why tam it like that? What's the cat's name? I call him Cat, but his name is Marcel. His name is Marcel. There was a question at the beginning of this stream, right before it started. Eddie, if you could pull that one up at the very, very top. Yeah. Sarah Mason is actually my name, is her name of her icon. It says, question, we are waiting to sell near Slidell. That's in Louisiana, near me. Should we wait until January, even if it's to buy a parcel of land? Here's the thing about land, and I don't know how this is for you, Matt. Land, is that like for here, it wouldn't matter if they were selling it in 2021, 2022, 2023. The uptick in price or a downtick in prices, land pretty much stays flat for a long period of time before it ever goes up, especially if it's raw land. So I don't think it would matter if you're waiting till January or even to purchase it now. It wouldn't make a difference here. It's still going to be the same price.
Fairly similar here. I think the majority of the value is going to come in the improvements you put on the land. So unless
Mhm.
it's some miracle parcel that backs up to some unreal thing that you just can't get, I just don't really see it being in any higher demand in January than it would be right now here locally as
Yep.
well. Yeah.
Oh, we got a $5 super chat for CC Moon, who is a longtime subscriber. It says, I got my wisdom teeth surgery on my left side yesterday. I can't smile, laugh, but my heart is smiling watching you two. Aw, thank you, CC. How a higher inflation will be in 22. I don't know how high it will go, but it's definitely going to be higher. I mean, the interest rates are going to go up. There's no doubt about it. We've already seen inflation through every sector where we purchase goods. There isn't a there. I mean, if you look at my grocery bill, and I was like, I played a game. I'm like, guess how much this was. And I have this thing where I don't use plastic bags from the grocery store. So it was just in the grocery cart going to my car. And I was like, guess how much it was. And people were like, oh, I don't know, $70. Somebody's like, oh, maybe 100. It was $145. I'm like, there was nothing in this basket. this could not sustain a family of 4 for the amount of things that I had in this basket. I'm like, this is insanity. This is total craziness. But they're saying though that the supply chain issues are going to be taken care of pretty soon. I have a friend who works in that industry, and he's like, by the third quarter of next year, we won't even be talking about it. It's going to be move business as usual, unless there's a big wave of this pandemonium one more time. He's like, there's not going to be an issue at all. Lawnmower says Marcel is French for cat. Oh, I did not know that. You know what he's wanting? He wants me to open the window.
Lawnmower's picture always cracks me up every time I see that thing pop up. That picture of that dog is hilarious.
All right. Do we have any more questions that have come in since the beginning of the stream, Eddie? I'm sure Matt and I would say that. David Wimberly says, question, is rent to own okay? The base requirements for that are almost of FHA. What do you say, Matt?
You know, I think it depends on who you're purchasing the home from, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're purchasing it from directly from the seller who maybe is just Joe Seller and does this, 5 or 6 times a year, you're probably gonna have a pretty high interest rate and you're gonna be pretty exposed the majority of the process. I like FHA loans for first-time home buyers, especially if you can get yourself into a position within a few years where you can refinance out of it and hopefully you get some PMI taken off. I think FHA are good loan products. So I would not say that rent to own is better than FHA, but there are definitely scenarios and people where rent to own makes sense. Absolutely.
There are companies that have come out in the last couple of years that will, they are a rent to own official company. So they basically say, yes, we're going to go ahead and purchase the home for you. But by the end of the year, if you go through all of our steps to get a required loan, then you can purchase your own loan and it's under your name. Here we have something called a lease purchase, which is very similar. You give the sellers a very large down payment of, let's just say $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You have 1 year span to have that get your loan approval accepted. If you cannot get it within that first year, that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 that you put down now goes to the sellers because you weren't able to meet the loan terms prior to closing. And if everybody that I've ever known that have done a lease purchase through a random person trying to buy a house, like, oh, my landlord says it's a rent to own. And I'm like, how much of that money is going towards the purchase of the house? How long are your terms? They don't even know. In those cases, that's not a rent to own. They're just taking extra money and they know that you're not going to go through the steps to purchase the house. And that you have to read the fine print on your lease agreement if that's the case. So just know that if that's what you're thinking about doing when it comes to a owner finance or rent to own. It's not what you think it is in many cases. Jerry Pursua says, wow, I actually remember Kristina's live stream. Looking forward to today's show. Thank you for being here, Jerry. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm glad I have Matt Kelderman on because you guys like Matt as much as I do. He's fun. Anthony White says, question, how's the housing market in Hawaii and Alaska? I know Hawaii is like hot. Yeah. Hawaii never has an issue. I wish Boiled Nuts was here. Is he here? Boiled Nuts will tell you, man, there isn't a time that is bad to buy in Hawaii unless you wait.
Exactly. I know about the Hawaii market. The Alaska market, I don't have any idea about. Like, it wasn't Alaska at one point one of those places they were almost paying people to move there just because they were looking for people to work and those types of things, or am I like confusing that with like Vermont or something?
No, they still have that.
Yeah,
and they actually they have like they encourage as many women to move there as possible too, in creating like trying to get more jobs for women out there because there's more men than there are women. So they actually encourage, they're trying to like come up with all these like, look, you could stay in these apartments. There's a single woman's apartment, but there's where all the guys work, Yeah, no, they still, because it's not a happening town, and it's expensive. So even, we whine about our prices of food and stuff like that. Everything they get in is shipped in just like Hawaii. And so like a can of Coke that would normally cost us, let's just say $1, it's like $2-3 there. So yeah, you got to take the good with the bad, but they give you a lot of bonuses for people to move to Alaska. It's not as cold as you think.
I'm staying down here.
Sarah says, question, waiting to buy in St. Tammany Parish outside of Slidell. What do you think? I don't know what you're buying. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with St. Tammany Parish, and there's nothing wrong with Slidell. Those are areas that my daughter was doing gymnastics. They're both good. I mean, it all depends on what you're buying, if you're getting a good deal or not. They're good areas. There's nothing wrong with them. Not a thing. Not a thing. And it's not too far from like everywhere you want to go in like New Orleans and everything.
That's good.
CC Moon says, I need a boyfriend flying to Alaska ASAP. Hey, you know they make good income too, man. They do. They make good incomes working out there, and they have nothing to spend it on. So it's like, yeah, I'm building up this nest egg. There's nowhere I can't even shop. You know?
Nowhere.
Cece's going to Alaska. S says, question, do you think increases in rent and demand for rentals are allowing real estate to come up? I think real estate is becoming an A-class investment, like hedge funds, which is only for the rich. I have an opinion about this, but I would love to hear yours, my friend.
Here's the thing is, I think if you're only looking at your market, right? Sometimes we get laser focused. I was recently introduced to a market in Arkansas that still has amazing freaking deals, right? Like, and I'm not saying pick up your family and move to Arkansas, but I also think there are places where there is still opportunity to own a home. It definitely, we've talked about it a ton of times on the show, it's definitely moving away from average American to be able to just afford a home with the criteria that we've traditionally thought, right? But there's also a part of me, like, we see that happening everywhere. We see it happening with college tuition. We see it happening with the lack of 401ks and company matching those things. We live in a world now that's moving really swiftly towards that 1950s dream that everybody had of owning a home and retiring. Just, it doesn't exist. And it's
with a pension. Remember those? Remember, Dad got a pension. They don't exist anymore.
I don't know anything about that.
Pension. So here's what I think, and this is where I'm going to pull up my tinfoil hat. I need to buy one of those. I truly believe that these big corporations, including Zillow, even though they stepped out of it for now, BlackRock, on a bunch of other ones that are under the umbrella of all these bigger corporations, are aiming to get as many Americans into rental units as possible so they can turn Americans into a renter's nation. That's what many countries are already like that. It's not, it sounds insane now, but many countries are already like that. And it's very difficult to buy a home in England. And you have many people rent. Same with Sweden, same with Norway. So it's just something that I think that's what we're moving towards. We're going to be turning our kids most likely won't have a home, or their kids most likely won't have a home. They'll be renting from Mr. Amazon and writing their rent check out to them, and paying it with their Prime membership. That's my opinion. The other thing is that years ago, a home, your dad, or the man of the house, would go out to work. He was a milkman and he could buy a house. His neighbor was a mailman next door. He was a mailman. He could buy a house. And the guy next to him was, he worked at the coal mines and he could buy a house. And they were just a one income family and they had 6 bazillion children, right? Now we're down to having one person working. We have now we have 2 people working with 1 kid, and they're struggling just to make it. And they are working their tails off. There is no more pension. Medical expenses are out the wazoo. If they got a college education, now they have college debt. These are all things that our parents never had to face. It's not the same. And I feel sorry for every generation, I think, is kind of suffering the consequences of a lot of things that were given to opportunities that were given to an older generation that was never offered to us. So anyway.
Well, and I'm not crazy old. I'm 42. And even this, like, the college stuff still exists. I remember, I went to Iowa State in 1997 and I don't remember it costing that much money.
How much was it? Tuition.
Somebody will fact check me and probably tell me I'm wrong, but if it was more than $6,000 for the whole year in state, I would be shocked. Like,
well, that's really what it is a semester now.
I think it was that little, right? And and you figure that's for a lot of like smaller schools. You talk some of these expensive schools or like big, state schools that everybody wants to go to. It's more expensive than ever to do almost everything.
If my daughter did not have a scholarship, through the state, we would be paying out the wazoo. But it's $6,000 with us, with her having a college scholarship. I
Yep.
mean, it's a lot. 6 grand is nothing to sneeze at. But I was relieved because when I saw how much it was a quarter, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this. This is as much as a car,
Yep.
a
Yeah.
semester. And
Every
then
year.
when we
Yeah,
found out
every
how
year
much
we
it was
buy
going
a
to
car.
cost, I was like, that ain't that bad. It's
Yeah.
still bad, but I mean, I can handle it. Anyways, we got off the subject.
Houses.
Let's go back to questions. All right, here. I think Eddie ran. I don't know if you guys heard the washing machine. It was going. So Eddie got there. T Stamp says, "What about the rise in property taxes?" Oh, this is actually coming up in my next video. So Matt, a lot of people think that there's going to be more foreclosures because property taxes they're gonna get their property tax bills coming up, and they're not going to be able to pay their property taxes. What is your opinion about this? Because I have something to say about it.
I don't know if I'm gonna have a hot opinion on this. I have not seen the foreclosure flood here in DFW that I think a lot of people are seeing. And maybe there are other markets that are experiencing that, but we can't sit here on one hand and say that prices have went up 21% somehow in some short, ridiculous period of time, and then also talk about equity problems. Like, people are just sitting on, for almost everybody, they can sell it for more than they owe on it at some point, it seems, because I'm just not seeing that in our market. Unless there's a part of the market I don't know about, I don't really foresee there being a flood of inventory anytime soon.
T-stamps, there's something else you should know is that most people most people live in one home. And when you live in that one house, uh, the most of the states have what they call, which is homestead. So if you're homesteaded, they start taxing your property, let's just say after $75,000. So if your property is less than $75,000, they're not going to give you a property tax bill. With that being said, there also is a cap. So let's just say your home increased to 350 when it was 150,000 a year ago. You're not going to have a new assessed rate within 1 year that's 350,000. They only raise that amount by, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, like the max. They're not going to take your tax bill from 150,000 and turn it into 350,000, and then you're going to get that new tax bill. Because if you're homesteaded, there's a protection there that they can't raise it X amount of percentage each year.
But there is weird loophole. Like, to speak to that homestead thing though, depending on, let's say a property was bought from an older couple in a neighborhood by an investor. That year turned over, that investor couldn't put a homestead on the property after January 1 because they're not living in the property, right? Now you buy the property later in the year, right? You're not getting the advantage of the homestead, or maybe a couple of months later, you're not getting advantage of that homestead until you can file it the next year, right? So there is a chance for that property value to jump up pretty dramatically. A good lender will take that into account in your payment, not basing the taxes off the 150 that it was when grandma owned it and it still had mint green tile in the bathrooms, as opposed to when it's been flipped and it's now worth twice as much. So there is an aspect of it that I'll say that here. We started in 2015 was the year that Dallas County and the surrounding counties really started hammering tax appraisals. And I get clients calling me like, tried to raise my property taxes 15%. And I'm like, first off, you have your homestead, so they can't even go up that much. Secondly, here are some comps, but most of the comps are just going to kind of prove what they're saying. Your property values went way up. So if you live in an area where properties and values are increasing all around you, your taxes are going to go up for sure. No doubt about that. I just don't think they're going to be, you're also going to have the increase in the property value as well to walk alongside it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't see as many people like walking away from their homes because their property tax bill went up. I can't see that happening. I
100%.
mean,
I don't think that's a reason anybody's going anywhere. But
another
taxes
thing I
will
want to
go up.
touch on real quick is that, I know people are waiting for a sea of foreclosures, and you were talking about that. You mentioned that a second ago, Matt. I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but every single month, the amount of people that are on the forbearance plan, which is the government had put up this plan where you didn't have to pay your mortgage payments for, let's just say, 12 months. That number of people that have been on it has dropped drastically. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was 7.8 million people. And I was panic stricken going, holy cow, we're going to see a sea of people getting, foreclosed on. Then they kept extending that forbearance plan, and now we're down to 1.1 million. The month before that it was 1.6 million. The month before that was 1.8 million. It's steadily going down that people are dropping off the forbearance plan. And I just don't see a wave of foreclosures like I did at the beginning of the pandemic, because they had said, this is it, we're only doing it for this amount of time and we're cutting it off. So my mind changed after they kept extending it. And I know that's what people are looking for, as far as, like, I want an affordable house. So
I have real world experience with that literally on a listing agreement that just got signed yesterday. It was a client that we had their house on the market later last year. They were in forbearance. We got all the way to closing and found out that the seller needed to come up with about $12,000 because they hadn't been in the house long enough to have the equity in it. So they were in a tight spot. Could not come up with the $12,000. We had to take the house on the market. Deal fell apart. They have since figured all of that out, rolled the money that they owed somewhere into the loan. The house is now back in good standing, and we're putting the house back on the market next week. And
they'll sell it
for probably $40,000 more than they could have gotten last year.
Whoop, whoop. Well, that's good for them, and I'm happy for them.
I mean, that's the market we're talking about. This is what's happening. People that you think are going to be in forbearance are finding their ways out, and then some of them are even in better positions somehow because the market has just stayed like this. I agree with you. I don't see where this flood of houses is going to come from, because at this point, the spring market's not that far off. We think it is. Feels like March is forever away, but the reality is, you talk about that Mardi Gras date. That ain't. People are gonna be so preoccupied with life for the next 60 days. Next thing you know, it's gonna be January 5th, and people are gonna start talking about selling their house in the spring. Like, that conversation is already about to start happening, as far away as it may seem.
This is really good. Sly JT2 says the market in Atlanta. Why is OfferPad still offering more than the rest? And this is what I was telling you. Private equity firms. They want these houses. Atlanta actually is one of the hottest markets for private equity firms to purchase. They have increased their purchasing in the Atlanta market 25%. 25%. Yeah. They're not going anywhere. And everybody kept saying, well, Zillow's pulling out of the market because they know something. They know it's going to crash, and that's why they're dumping all their houses. Do you know who they dumped their houses to? They didn't throw them on the market. Do you know who they gave them to? Other private equity firms. They do not give two flies. They're restructuring. This is what they're doing. They're like, you know what? We made a bad business decision. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to restructure the whole thing. We're going to burn it down and build it right back up again. They haven't said that vocally. They have not said that on paper. They haven't said it in writing. But I already know, this company's been around forever. This is what they do. This is what they're 100%. Going to do.
And this is also really important to understand how a lot of these companies operate. The majority of them don't make any money, right? The majority of them are backed by so much other stuff. Go look at what I'm not saying Zillow's employees don't get paid. I'm not saying their CEO doesn't get paid. Go look and see how profitable Zillow's been year over year. Like, for some reason, we live in this age where businesses don't always have to be profitable to keep having an influx of cash, right? And
Zillow wasn't profitable the other day for eons.
Yeah. So
it's never been like it. Then they have all these. Well, look who finances them. I put that in a video. They have a whole bank of very large real estate companies or hedge funds, or they have BlackRock is one of their biggest investors, top 10.
Yep.
Who knew? Zillow's an information company.
Well, I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't they be? Zillow has access to more information about who's going to sell their home next than anybody else on the planet.
And that's more valuable than anything. If I'm looking to
pick up homes, like, I'm going directly to the source of the data. You know, and it's funny because the consumer doesn't understand a lot about the moves Zillow's made in the background, purchasing things like Dotloop, right? Like infrastructure things that we as real estate agents use to get people's signatures. Now, I don't know what access Zillow has that information, but I'm pretty sure it's
everything.
All of it. You know what I mean?
Everything.
They know what that contract price is for your house. They do. They read it right off the document. You know what I mean?
And all the terms.
I can't believe the other crazy conspiracy stuff and believe that Zillow can't figure out a way to read Dotloop documents. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just accept
Kevin wants to know, what about the rental market? It's still like ridiculously high. It's insanely high. How much I can get for rent right now is ludicrous. But, Eddie and I would never do that. I'm like, that doesn't seem fair. I'm not going to raise it up $2,000. when we were just charging 1,600 or 1,650 last year. We did up it a little bit because we remodeled the whole entire house, but we didn't do it to 2,000, 2,100. House is built in 74. Like I'm not doing that.
I know an agent up in Indianapolis named Austin who is about 25 years old, and he can make so much Airbnb-ing his house right now that he is pretty much staying with his parents 27 days a month while he Airbnbs his house because he's just making a killing. And he's in one of those life situations where it works out fine for him to do that. And his own personal house, he is just Airbnb-ing and staying back with his parents and just making a mint right now.
I told this story last week, but I'll tell it again. A friend of mine, him and his girlfriend, now wife, they're much older. They're my age now. But when they first got married, they bought their first house, and that's exactly what they lived over a Chinese food restaurant in this little rat hole while their first home was being rented out. And they were just trying to build that up. And then once they built enough equity in that, they bought another one, still living above the Chinese food restaurant. She goes, "The next one we buy is for us." And he bought a piece of land with his junky manufactured home on it. And she was like, "Yep, that's my dream right here. We own 2 beautiful homes that we're renting out, and I live in this."
Hey, saving for the
Now
future.
they on the same piece of property, they have a nice, beautiful home, but it was funny.
100%. That's awesome.
And we got another question on there. Oh, Eddie's gonna show us something really quick. I hear him in the
Oh,
background. And if anybody doesn't know, Eddie's the producer slash husband extraordinaire. He knows all sorts of stuff. The Zillow group has Zillow offers, Zillow closing services, Zillow home loans, Zillow rentals, Zillow premier agent, Trulia, Street Easy, and Hot Pads.
there you go.
Yeah. What?
And
Oh,
look,
they also
this
have
is the other one.
Showing Time, More Tech, Bridge. Oh, Dot Loop, Bridge Interactive.
So know this as a consumer. The 2 of those, Dot Loop is literally the secure company that we use to send you your documents to e-verify. It's only one of about 2 that are accepted for the most part. And Showing Time is literally the app that we use to schedule every showing. So think about the sheer volume of data that Zillow has. And if we can admit that we live in a volume or in a data-based environment now, where having access to information is everything, right? We can't hate Facebook and then say that like we don't care if people have our data, right? Like Zillow has every bit of data on, I would say probably 40% of every home sold. They probably have complete data between owning Zillow, Dotloop, and Showing Time. They know how many times the house was shown before the offers were written that they now have on their website. Like think about how massive that is. It's
I wonder
crazy.
when they're gonna start hiring title attorneys to close them.
I mean, look, the fact that they haven't vertically integrated into all that, I mean, they already have loans. I think
They have
title is
loans.
probably one of those things that is not incredibly lucrative. It seems to be the last thing everybody goes to. They go to insurance and they go to mortgage first. Everybody seems to put title on the back burner before they go to that.
Well, it's
And
good for the title attorneys.
yeah, totally.
Debbie L says, question, is it safer to buy new construction now where realtors won't raise the price on you after you have a contract? You still have the risk of a builder raising the price of the contract. Matt, I've had you on this one. This happened a lot in Texas. People would purchase their house, they'd sell their previous home. And then the builder would say, "Oh yeah, we're, 3 weeks away from closing. This house is now $100,000 more because of they would say, well, because we couldn't get materials in and now building materials cost X amount more. So you're going to have to pay $100,000 more." Buyers like, we can't do that. I mean, we're only approved for this amount of money. We have to buy it at this. They're like, "Oh, well." And then they cancel the contract, give them back their deposit, and they're homeless at that point. A
The
builder can
builder
do it
doesn't care.
just to you as much as a regular home seller.
Well, and just for clarification's sake, just to be sure, like realtors have nothing to do with the homes of new construction, like new home prices being raised mid-contract. That's shady
Builder.
business practices by a builder completely. I mean, in a good agent in a new home construction situation is just there to protect the buyer. There's really not a ton. Builders have their own contracts. All of that stuff is completely different. The agent doesn't have a ton of ability to do much when it comes to the contractual stuff other than negotiating up front. They're not changing the price mid-contract. I can assure you that.
And I can tell you that, and especially here in Louisiana, I don't know how it is in Texas, but the people that are at the front that are in the sales office are not real estate agents. Most of them are not real estate agents. They're just sales
No,
consultants.
no,
They
most of them
don't
are not licensed at all.
Not like, well, I don't know. There might be a few that are licensed now, but a lot of times they do not do any of it. You know,
They
they give
work
you the
for the
builder's
builder.
contract and that's it.
Understand as a consumer that when you use the builder's representative to help you write a contract, then you use the builder's lender and the builder's title company, you are completely unrepresented in the transaction. Everybody's fiduciary responsibility is on the other side of the table. Now, I'm not saying
What
that
does
means
fiduciary
anytime
mean? People don't know what that means. What does
well,
fiduciary?
whoever the financial responsibility of the transaction falls on the seller's side, right? There's nobody representing your financial interests in that transaction when you are completely unrepresented that way. And that's why, they're making a bunch of money by doing it that way. They can vertically integrate. It's why they offer you free
Mhm.
title and $2,500 back and $5,000 in incentives in the design department and all of that stuff, right? And again, it doesn't mean it's going to be a terrible transaction, but just know there's nobody representing your best interest in that transaction. They all work for the builder, every single one of them.
Yep, yep, because they'll do that. They'll be like, you know, you can use our inspectors, and then you can use our title company, and then you can use, and at the end of it, you're like, Where was I represented? You weren't.
You
You
weren't.
weren't." So, next question, Eddie, Teddy, Eddie, producer extraordinaire. Anthony White says, question, if FHA or VA loans are more competitive when buying a house, and how's the housing market in Alaska? I
I
couldn't tell
answered
you
this
anything
question.
about the Alaska housing market, but FHA and VA loans, they're not as competitive as, let's say, a conventional loan. Um, to me, FHA or VA loan is pretty much the same kind of deal. Um, you know, as far as like the interest rates and everything. If you are a VA and you can use your VA benefits, they're going to work out better for you because of PMI. But I don't, if I'm getting that as, if I'm representing the seller and I have a VA loan or an FHA loan, the terms are what's going to decide it. It isn't the fact that what kind of loan they have, it's the terms of that contract that would make the decision for the sellers. What do you
I'll,
say?
I'll, I'll pull the curtain of real estate back a little bit for everybody and tell them that most agents are so uneducated on VA loans and their perception of them is so skewed in markets, especially where they don't deal with a lot of veterans. I know agents who live near bases and things like that get these at a high level, but in areas they don't. This is where veterans are really done a huge disservice by the real
Mm,
estate agent community as a whole, because I see and I have heard conversations and I know for a fact that VA loans will get put on the back burner compared to pretty much every other loan possible, because the perception is that if somebody's not putting money down, that the loan is more risky, that there's costs for the seller, which there isn't. Like in the state of Texas, you have to pay for like the termite inspection. That's $75.
mhm,
I'll throw that into the deal if that gets it done. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
I think it's a miseducation as a whole by the real estate agent community that makes it more difficult for veterans to use a VA loan in a competitive market. Because I will tell you, I bet you most agents, if they were being honest and had to check a box unrepresented, and they said FHA or VA loan, you don't know any of the terms, assuming everything is equal, like they are going to check the box for FHA loan every single time.
Well, see, and it wouldn't make a hill of beans difference to me. You
It, it,
know, as
it
long as
wouldn't either.
like I talk to their lenders too, though. I'm going to tell you this.
100%.
Because you can get a VA loan and you could have the worst lender in the world that cannot get it done. Then you can
Agreed.
work with another person that's very proficient in VA loans and it gets through even faster than a conventional loan.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know who their loan officer is too, like loan originator. It makes a huge difference.
It makes a
Huge.
huge difference. And the thing is, as consumers, you need to understand that going in to protect yourself, that you need
Mhm.
to be able to make sure the person representing you on the real estate agent and the lending side understand where VA loans can be difficult. Because I don't know if this is an every market thing. I will tell you for sure that is my experience here. And I
Right.
imagine a lot of DFW agents would probably echo that. Now,
Yeah,
like I said, I don't care. I actually think both loan products are really amazing.
they are.
Right? They're both really amazing loan products, but like I said, I have seen and heard that conversation more than once.
Anthony, I have one more thing. If you are in a rural area, also look to see what the USDA Rural Development Loan has for you too, so you can compare those rates because you can get 100% financing. If not, add your closing costs in there too. Just FYI.
Absolutely.
Just FYI. Well, next question, Eddie Smallhorn, who's in the background that no one ever sees. I promise you, he's good looking. Starting next week, Alaskans can apply for up to 3 months rental assistance. How about that? Eddie has a little article for us. I love when Eddie's looking up
They're just
stuff on
doing
the
work in the
background.
background. I love it.
Yeah. The Alaska Housing Financing Corporation will pay up to 3 months rent for eligible Alaskans struggling financially during COVID-19 pandemic. The program's application period will be open from September 13th to October 3rd, which comes just a few weeks after the Supreme Court ended the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention nationwide eviction moratorium. The Alaska Housing Finance Corporation said the program was already funded and approved for a moratorium expiration, and the dates only coincide incidentally. Huh. Well, that sounds a little shady. That's October 1st. Yeah, so, that article was out September 8th. Oh, I wanna point this out too if anybody doesn't know this. Matt, I actually started a new website. I started this, a couple months ago, but I kinda, like, really released it 2 weeks ago, and it's just KristinaSmallhorn.com, and, that way people, if they're looking for a referral, throughout the country, all they have to do is fill out this form. It's so simple for people to fill this out, and then I actually, like, call and vet every single real estate agent to make sure that they can handle this, this client of mine, this referral. And then many times I call them on the phone. They're like, I can't believe you're calling me. I'm not a celebrity, people. I'm just letting you know. I'm just a real estate agent and I really want to talk to you. And of course, I want to help you. So you just go out to there and it says contact, click the little contact button. Eddie's going to, Eddie at the top, it says contact right there, about contact. There, see, book here, right here. And he's going to click that button. He's going to click it. There you go. He got it. And it says looking for referral. So once you click that, just fill out the referral form and then I'll help you out. And then there's a little section in there that says, what are you looking for? Do you need a approval? That's where you can put in like what you really want, like fill it out. Don't leave that blank. Tell me what you need. The more information you fill out there, the more likely I can find you a real estate even faster. And I answer those on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just a FYI. So if you're thinking about doing that, Matt, you should do that. It really is helpful to people. Gail Ivy said, Chris, question. In a recent remodel HUD home, a smaller lot than mine was just listed for $200,000 over comps. Rentals in the area are scarce. Should I rent or should I sell? Recently remodeled a HUD home on a seller lot. Okay. Find out if your loan will allow you to rent out your house. Okay. First of all, before you even make a decision. If the comps are over 200,000, if it was listed for over 200,000, that doesn't mean they're going to get over 200,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people have a dream of trying to time the market and they're like, I'm going to be Scrooge McDuck and swim in a pile of gold. I'm going to make an extra $200,000 on my lot. And they're out of their mind. But as real estate agents, we tell them sometimes we'll say, okay, we're going to list it at your price. But I'm telling you, if this does not, we would get no calls within the first 5 days. That's it. We're dropping the price like a rock back to where it should be. This is why. And we show them the numbers exactly where they are. So it's not, a lot of times it's like when you see a house that's overpriced, a lot of times it's not the real estate agent. It's the sellers that think that their house is worth a lot more. Everybody thinks they're sitting on a gold mine. Every single person.
Real estate agents do need to be stronger in that scenario, though. But the problem is there will always be somebody who will come along and be willing to put a sign in the yard just to see what happens. So, listing ain't selling, like Kristina said. Like, I wait and see where it closes out before you worry about it too much.
My parents, I sent them 3 real estate agents to go out there. And this one lady went out there and she like literally told my parents she could get them $100,000 more than the other 2 agents. I said, Mom, she just wants a listing. Do not hire her. She's an idiot.
Yeah. The thing is, I always tell people too, I love the idea of getting 3 because there's always going to be one crazy outlier. And if for some reason you hear that outlier and it just makes all your bells go off, call 2 more people, get 5 people now. And see if there's any other person. And if there's still the outlier, just you can kind of immediately discard that human.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever. Eddie, go ahead and throw up another question. Jerry, I keep catching Jerry's comments. Says, Kristina, you are celebrity real estate. It popped up. He said, I am a celebrity. You are a celebrity real estate agent. Thank you. Jay Chris says, question, if I buy a duplex with a friend, is it possible later split ownership and sell each unit individually? Thanks.
In
Matt?
Texas, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, one, I would say the only thing I would say that I don't like about that from a business decision is owning both sides of a duplex. I have found people find more valuable than only owning one side. So I
Correct.
don't know why you would ever want to sell it separately. I understand the idea of you and your friend want to make your own decision, but I would just kind of maybe marry the idea that you're also marrying this person in a business sense.
Mm-hmm.
That once you buy this duplex together, you guys are making a business decision to be in lockstep until you sell it. Dividing it in half doesn't make a ton of sense for me from an investment standpoint. It seems like it would devalue the asset potentially. Like, what if your friend sells their half to some turd, and then a year later you decide to sell yours, and they've torn up their side, and they've got a cat that pees everywhere, and people, you know what I mean? Like, it could just be a mess. I don't know why you would do that, but I suppose you could.
Don't fault the cat. There's bad
I just
owners.
use cat because there's just every house I've been into that's made me want to leave is because they had too many cats and they went a little bonkers.
That's what I say about a duplex too. I would try my hardest to own both sides. I don't want to own one half of a duplex. Nels DG said, Kristina, are you losing weight? Because it looks like you lost some. Maybe it's the new lighting. Oh, you know what? I have my hair up too. Maybe it's making my brain look smaller. No, I at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like 104 pounds. So I'm about 112 pounds now. I'm about 5'1". So I'm actually quite healthier, much healthier than I was at the beginning of the pandemonium. When I was slightly stressed out about it. Ruggiero says, question, are you familiar with the New Jersey housing market? Any areas in North Jersey that's not insanely expensive? Any places for small houses like boxable or manufactured? Love your work. Here's the deal. I personally do not know much about the New Jersey market, but I do have real estate friends that do work the New Jersey market. If you want to reach out to me via the referral form, just go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, click on book with me, and then fill out that referral form, and I will get you connected with somebody that you could at least talk to see where you want to move in Jersey, because Kristina doesn't know Jersey. I'd love to know Jersey. Oh, thank you. Look, we get a channel member. Dewan 301, new channel member. Congratulations. Thank you. Now you get a cool little sticker when you make a comment during a live stream. I appreciate you being a part of it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, look, I'm going to throw this one up too. It says, Dee says, Dee 1776 says, love the white background, Kristina, and your skin glows. Honestly, I'm going to be really completely honest with you right now. It is sweltering hot in here. And I have this sweater on and I'm dying. So I have this, it looks like I have this glow and I'm baking. Okay. Oops. Go ahead. Thank you. Question, how big is that coffee cup?
Oh, the coffee cup returns.
I like big cups and I cannot lie.
The funny thing about it is you just don't know if you have one of those cameras that makes everything look huge when you put it up to
no, it truly is big.
No, it's the size of your head.
And I'm the totally unrelated to real estate, but somebody had told me that I should try oat milk in my tea. The person that said this should have their humanity card ripped away from them, because to put oat milk in your tea is the most foul thing on the planet. It tastes like monkey barf. Do not put oat milk in a hot cup of tea. It's disgusting.
Oat milk is going strong in the marketing department in Dallas Fort Worth. There's those weird little side of the road tourney marketing things that are around, and I've seen the truck it's like Vegas advertising the clubs, but it's just advertising oat milk, and I'm like, what is oat milk had a flood of cash into their marketing department, and now they're just trying to get everybody in Bemidji City to drink oat milk.
Ugh, don't do it. Don't do it. Totally had nothing to do with real estate, but we got on the coffee cup. I want to warn my subscribers, stay away from the oat milk. It's a hose. Johnny Stash says, question, should I offer 1 million for a home and waive the appraisal, or offer 1.25 million and keep the appraisal? Which is stronger offer? Go ahead, Mr. Matt?
Option C, like, one, what are the comps? Like, I don't like 1 million with no appraisal waiver is dangerous if it's an $800,000 neighborhood. You know what
Right,
I mean?
exactly.
So I mean, without that information, the no appraisal is going to be stronger than 25 grand. Because here's the thing: is your 1025 is pointless if the appraisal comes in at 975, right? Like, you're still protected by the appraisal addendum if you keep the appraisal addendum in the state of Texas in place,
Yes, here too.
right? So if you
Most
offer
states
1
will do
million
that.
with no appraisal waiver, if I'm the seller, right, I'm looking at that being like, this guy doesn't care what the house appraises for. He's going to pay $1 million for it. I'm taking that offer over the 1025 that if it came in at 975 wouldn't matter anyways, because you're protected.
And I also want to know how much you're putting down. Like, are you
That's the other
like
thing.
we could get the same offer. Say two offers come in, they're both exactly identical to yours. One of them's putting down, 400,000. The other one's putting down 100,000. I'm like, take the one the 400,000. That's
Sure.
you got to get a stronger buyer.
And then we talk about non-refundable good faith or earnest money, depending on where you're at. You want to put down $50,000 hard. If you walk away, that makes you look like a real serious buyer. You want to waive your inspection time frame and just say, look, this thing's going pending immediately. Like, the thing is, money means a lot, but there are other terms that will make the money way stronger, that if you
Sweeter.
don't have that 25 grand, just doesn't make a difference.
We did a lot of the inspection period is just for the buyer's information only, unless the repairs were over X amount of dollars.
Yep.
So, and then we would have to prove it if it was over that amount of dollars for the repairs we requested. So that worked out good. Deborah Waters said, question, why are housing lots shrinking so drastically? Most you can't even put a garden in. Oh, that's easy.
You put more up in a neighborhood, you make it a lot smaller.
Yeah. This is the reason why there isn't a lot of small homes. You don't see as many small homes. Builders make more money off of more square footage that they build on. So they shrink those lots down as basically down to 0 lot lines as possible. They throw a house up because they know people are going to buy them. And then they build them like 2-story, 3-story, whatever they can to get as much square footage so they can get as much money out of it. It doesn't cost them a lot more to add another floor onto a house. So they'll build them up instead of out. They rather build them up than out. And that's what they do. That's exactly, they're just trying to get more per square foot, get as many houses as they can jammed in that. And they all look like little cookie cutter houses. Boo, 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 all the same. We have a neighborhood here. I'm like, Eddie, if someone was to come through here and like after a drunk evening and telling the Uber driver where their house was, there's no way they could find it. They all look exactly the same. They're all red brick, swinging the garage front with the blue door. Every single one of them. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, all the way down.
Yep.
It's bizarre.
Yep. Frisco, Texas, the area I live is very similar to that. Really small lots, 4,000 square foot houses. It's not my scene.
David Wimberly says, question, taxes on new construction. I see an estimate of tax of $57 per month. That is based on the land value that once the house is, I think he hit return before it finished.
Once the house is done.
How can I gauge new taxes on a new build? Talk to your lender, talk to your title company. Yes. Talk to your lender, talk to your title company. That's the best way to gauge it, because everybody's taxes are going to be different.
Yes, and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in those communities. Remember, they're still building on infrastructure. They're still adding schools. They're still doing all these things. So taxes are probably going to be a little bit higher at first especially if you're moving to an area that's being fully developed.
Yeah, and some areas have a new home tax. Like there's an addition to that tax because you're causing an impact. So it's an impact tax because you're buying a brand new home. Yeah. That's not true of everywhere. That's not true of every state. Just ask about it if there's an impact tax. 30-day reviews. Hey there, friend. Long time friend of mine. Question, why do banks state that someone can't make a house payment of $400 when their rent is $1,200 right now? Why is it count against them? Why do banks state that someone can't make a house payment of $400 when their rent is $1,200 right now? Why is it counting against them? I'm not really sure of your question. I'm not sure.
I mean, if you're saying you pay a $1,200 rent right now, and then you have but you've been denied for a bank loan where the loan payment would be $400, I agree with you. That wouldn't make sense.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, unless you just had some kind of crazy income credit, just bonkersness happening on the background. Like it seems like most people could manage a $400 a month house payment. I don't know. I don't know why that would be there. I don't understand.
I want to apologize for my dogs. I don't know if anybody knows this. Is I have 3 dogs. I have a cat, a lizard. We were looking at more cats.
I
I
have
have a
no pets.
problem.
I'm leaving for New York next Sunday, and I was just like, how sweet it is just to be able to pack a bag and leave. I don't have to worry about where pets go. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I'm just gone.
Eddie has stepped out, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up a question, and hopefully, I'm not getting them out of order. If I did, you can shame me in the comments afterwards. Frank G said, "Question: If you owned your own home outright, would you recommend becoming the bank or still use the traditional way of selling?"
Ooh.
Oh, oh, that depends on
Let
your
me-
financial situation. I
that
don't know. I don't
is
ever want to be responsible for other people's money.
nope.
Forget that.
Look, if you just want to know, assuming both things work out rosy, right? Like it depends. Do you need the cash influx every month, or do you need the larger cash infusion of the sale, right? Like
Mhm.
what's gonna make your wealth building strategy more effective? If you want to talk about a risk, selling the house and getting out from under it is much less risky than becoming the bank for somebody who may or may not default. And in the meantime, tear your asset up. And, I've been in a whole bunch of foreclosure homes. They ain't all very nice. You know what I mean? Like, so
Some of them are though.
some
Man,
of
you
them
can get
are
some gems. I sold a house years ago that was a foreclosure over Thanksgiving because no one would show this woman a house. She
nice.
called me up. She's like, I found this house. The house would have listed for 1.1 million. It was a foreclosure for 600,000. And I'm like, I'm putting on my jacket. It's Christmas. I mean, it's Thanksgiving Day. My mom's cooking. I'm like, hey, mom, I'm going to go show a house. Sure enough, I mean, they walk in there. I mean, don't get me wrong. It had that pink and teal. Like that was like the
Ugh.
thing in the 90s. It was the beige carpet, that,
Yep. Yep.
oh, I mean, it needed updating, but it was still worth $1.1 million. I sold that sucker. Man, those are some of my best clients. Foreclosures. I
Absolutely.
love foreclosures. Love them. They're a lot more. I'm going to tell you as a real estate agent, they are more paperwork, but they're a great deal. I love a
Yeah,
foreclosure.
I believe it.
All right, I'm going to throw up another one here. Eddie's talking to. So
Calming
we
the
have
dog down, or is there somebody at the
I don't know
door?
if you noticed how clear the stream is now. I have gotten myself new internet because I was so sick of having to deal with crappy internet, but we have different cable
Nice.
company.
Nice.
So that the cable man's here, but he was supposed to be here from 5:45 to 6:45 and he's
Oh,
here.
that's always the way that scenario goes.
I know, but if I had delayed the stream because he was supposed to be here earlier, then he would have shown up late. So Jerry says, what makes money better? It's already rocket fuel, isn't it? Well, the value of the dollar today will be worth less tomorrow, and it'll be worth less tomorrow after that, and then tomorrow after that. That's why it's important. It's important to offset inflation as much as possible. And do you know what the greatest way to offset inflation? What is it, Matt?
Owning a home.
Real estate.
And
Why do you
here's the
think?
other thing too, right? Like really start becoming a student of this if you really want to understand it and not just poo-poo on the market, right? And I'm not saying that's what Jerry or whoever that was doing.
Right,
But
of
like
course.
the reality is like there are deals out there that if you really start understanding your money and how it works, and I think this is a big problem just that we all have is schools didn't teach us about money and how money works. And I know as an adult, I'm still learning this, right? Like
Every
your
day.
ability to go buy an asset that's a deal, put a little bit of work into it, raise its value, and then borrow against it almost immediately to go borrow the next thing. That is how people get really wealthy, right? Like, and those deals
Mhm.
exist out there. I'm not saying they're easy to find. I'm not saying the money's just laying around, but real estate really is a huge wealth engine for a whole lot of incredibly rich people. Right. And I think it can be done by more people than they realize. They just get so caught up in some of the percentages, and we haven't been taught how to use those to our advantage, and they become kind of intimidating. At least I know that's how I feel about
If anybody is an investor or a beginning investor and you're trying to look at homes and you're like, "Man, these homes are ridiculous. I can't afford a house to flip." I have met some people this year, and one of the best things that they did was they bought manufactured homes that were foreclosed on, and they just sit in a lot, right? So they take these manufactured homes, they fix them up back up to code, if not better, and they resell them. This guy on his first, he took his last $6,000 he had. He bought a manufactured home at an auction. He put it up back on the market, for someone to purchase and put on their own piece of land. He sold that for $35,000. These people thought, oh my God, I got a brand new manufactured home, because it was only a couple of years old. It needed a little bit of work, but that guy got it for 6,000. He resold it for 30,000. He felt like he won the lottery because he was in bad financial shape. Like
Yep.
this was it. If he didn't make it with this $6,000, he was going to have to file bankruptcy and lose everything. And now that's what he does. He just flips manufactured homes, and he helps so many people in his local area that couldn't. They don't know how to do these kinds of things. They don't know how to fix plumbing. They don't know how to put the wheels back on. They don't know anything about the chassis at the bottom. So he fixes them up and he resells them at a really reasonable price, where these people can just pull out of their money, the cash, and they have a home for their grandmother or for themselves, just starting out. So if you're an investor and that's something you want to start getting into in real estate wise, think about flipping manufactured homes. Just FYI, just something to think about. Joe says, question, how does an individual search for commercial properties for sale, empty office spaces that can be potentially converted to a home? Go ahead, Matt. I'm not a commercial real estate agent.
I'm not a huge commercial agent, so I'm sure there are other avenues. I have always gone to LoopNet, which here locally works really well to find that kind of stuff. I think the best idea is to connect with a experienced commercial agent that's local, right? The reality is commercial is a totally different beast that has completely different streams of information, like it's just
foot traffic and
the traffic, all of it. And I don't know what makes a great commercial agent. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't know what information they possess. I can tell you it makes a great residential agent, but definitely connecting with somebody who is an expert in what you're trying to find is your best bet on commercial all day long.
they're more, I would say that commercial real estate agents are very analytical, and they would say that they are almost forensic, almost like forensic analysts when it comes to a piece of property and how much value you're going to get to make your money for your property. That's how I describe a commercial agent. In my area, there's 3 old men that run all the commercial real estate, and there's 2 of them that I deal with all the time. And whenever I have something that's commercial, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Lindsay," he's like, "What you got for me, Kristina?" I mean, they're slow running, but they know commercial real estate better than anybody. They know exactly how many people walk past there. They can pull it right off the top of their head because they've been doing it in this area forever. So that's what makes.
I love that.
Yeah. So you got to find the local commercial real estate person who does it all, like Mr. Lindsay in our area, and
Yep.
that's who you get a hold of. Barbara Waters says, "What is the best place to find a reputable builder?"
Boy, I will tell you, I straight up do not know of some specific source that like just tells you how great they are. Like maybe there's some local website or whatever. I have never been able to find any specific source that tells you that. I would say like going to simple things like Google
Facebook.
reviews. What's that? Well, yes, Facebook. Like there's review sites that you can go to, but there's no Angie's List type of thing, right? Like, and I also think people are going to leave negative reviews. People leave negative reviews before they leave positive reviews, right? Like,
Absolutely.
all
No,
day long.
I'm just saying, go to your local, like Living in
Yes.
Dallas Facebook group, right?
Yes.
And say, "Hey, I've been looking at these 3 builders. Can anybody tell me anything about them? Even, I really want to hear your good experiences. And if you have a very bad experience, please let me know." And you'll be surprised how many people are like, "Oh, I love my linear home," or, "I had a really great home with blah, blah, blah." And then other people will be like, "Did you really? Because this happened." Just read the thread. You can kind of see who's kind of like just mouthing off to mouth off. And there's people, if they're giving a constructive review, you can look into that too. But you always can look with the Better Business Bureau, and then Google the name. And if it's been in the news, ooh, I love when I find a builder that's been in the news. You're like, dude, we're not buying
They're
a house
probably
with you.
not there for a reason you want them to be.
Yeah, exactly. Google the builder. Google it.
Yes. Yes.
News. Hit the news button. Skylar says, "Do you know of anything about Santa Fe, New Mexico? Will prices be going down in that area?" I do not know anything about the Santa Fe, New Mexico area. I'd be lying if I did, but I can connect you with a real estate agent in the Santa Fe area if you would like me to, that could tell you more about that market if you're having some questions about it. You can visit my website at kristinasmallhorn.com.
It's fun to say.
It is fun to say. Mohammed says, question, what is your expectation for Colorado market? A lot of realtors are expecting the prices to keep going up, and the main reason is the shortage of inventory, 3-week inventory. I'm going to tell you something, Mohammed, and this is the God honest truth. Before, this was several years ago, before they had made it legal for the wacky tobacco in Colorado, there were still areas outside of like the main cities that you could have bought a home. Now you cannot. And every time that they said, well, we're going to start going down, every single time they said they're going to start going down, they have done nothing but go up. And that is one of the hottest places for millennials to move to is Colorado. And they will live in one house and all rent a room out of that one house just to live there. For some reason, it's an attraction for a younger generation to move to Colorado. I don't see that area around Colorado Springs, anything like that is going to be going down anytime soon. What do you say? There's plenty of people that move there from Colorado too. I mean, from California.
Tons of Californians going to Colorado. Like, here's the thing: is when you tell me there's 3 weeks of inventory, that just doesn't change overnight, right? Like sellers don't just all get together and change that number. When the numbers are that low, it's a slow incremental uptick over time. And again, I guess because none of us have ever seen anything kind of like this, I don't think there's going to be any indicators that the inventory is going up in areas like Colorado anytime soon.
I'm doing a little dance.
Prices are going to keep going up.
Yeah.
Supply is low, demand is high, period.
We're going to flatten here. We're going to flatten here anytime.
I think we're calming down a little bit here, but there are just still, TFW is just a weird real estate market. There are so many different sub-markets in it. It's crazy.
We would have gone down if we hadn't had that hurricane, right?
Yeah.
So we were just starting to see like where it looked like it was feeling like it was about to peak. And then we had that hurricane. It went flat because everybody's houses were, like we had a hurricane,
Sure.
And then, so then when people got those checks from the insurance companies for their totaled houses, we were right back up again. Anything that's in that median house price range, you can just forget about it. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have a bidding war. Forget about it. Gail Ivy said, oop, Eddie, where is it? Oh, Kristina, can you actually demand the sellers to drop the price on their home? You can ask.
I'll do this. This is a fun exercise that I do with sellers and I'll do this for you, Jerry, because I know you're asking the question. Jerry, could I convince you to drop the price could I demand that you drop the price of your home? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we always, like, it's one of those things that we always want to like think that those things are possible until they're implemented on us. I have sellers ask every once in a while, I'll be like, X, Y, and Z, I don't understand what doesn't happen. Well, would you do that, man? Or a buyer will be like, I don't know why he wants 20 grand more than he's asking. Well, because he can get it. Like, wouldn't you take it also? Like, I understand it's frustrating, and let's also act like the human who's in that situation. No seller is going to look at a demand, especially when there's other people looking to buy the house. I wouldn't think you can demand it if it's been on the market for 60 days. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, and an offer is just that. You're offering a price. Yeah. And sometimes a seller will say, I'm not taking that price. You can just stick it. I'm not doing it. And then sure enough, 10 days later, you get a call from that real estate agent. They're like, remember that offer you put in? Do you think that maybe your buyer might be still interested? I'm like, let me find out. Matter of fact, they're not interested anymore unless he wants to take it down another 5 grand. And he was like, she goes, hold on, and then they even get a better deal. So you never know. That's part of negotiations. I love a good negotiation. I haven't had a good negotiation in a while. Go ahead, Eddie. PR says, can we scrape together 20% to purchase a home and move in to reduce stress? We sell our house in 30 to 60 days after closing. Is there issues with that? We can scrape together 20% to purchase a home and move in to reduce stress. We sell our house in 30 to 60 days after closing. And then is there issues with that?
don't really.
So you have the down payment.
Yes.
And so if you
I think
already
that's your best case scenario, isn't it? Assuming like because you don't have to sell to buy and you can
Mhm.
still put 20% down. The only way that jams you up really is if for some reason you don't sell your home and now you're floating two mortgages and you scrape together the 20%, which leads me to believe that you're a little bit light on cash reserves, that might get a little bit scary. But
Right.
if you can buy without being contingent for your sale, it's going to make you a much stronger buyer in a competitive market, no doubt.
Now, like, there is a risk though that you might have trouble selling the house that you're trying to sell. Like,
That's
so
your
you've
danger
moved
spot.
into your house, even though you moved into your brand new house and you put down that 20%, there is a risk that it might take longer than you anticipated to sell your other house. So put that in perspective, it's possible it could take a lot longer than you anticipated. It's not the same market as it was last year at this time. So just think about that. Think about that. Okay. Like, got any more questions? Teddy, Headward. Here we are. Skylar says, "Do you have any knowledge?" Oops, Eddie already got that one. I know I have put up some questions, my love. All right. He says, if you are buying and looking at for sale by owner properties and the seller refuses to give you a commission, how do you get paid? Do you have that initial agreement? This is a
I
very good
like this
question.
one. I
This is how
like
I handle this.
I
And
want
you
to
can
hear
tell me
how
how
you
you handle it in just a second, Matt. So if I have a for sale by owner, before I even show the house, I call them up and say, hey, I have a buyer for you. They're already pre-approved. Can we go look at the house? I'm a real estate agent. Or will you accept them working with a buyer? You're willing to pay a commission to me as a real estate agent to represent my buyers. If they say yes, then I will go show the house. If they say no, I call my buyers up and I said, look, they're not willing to pay me. You can still schedule an appointment to go see it, but you're going to have to be on your own because I can't work for free. My broker will not allow me to do that. If you're willing to pay me the commission for that, I can still show it to you. But other than that, then I can't. But everything's negotiable. I mean, I've taken as little as a 1% just to write. I mean, I've done it. I've done it. You got to do it sometimes. What
So
do you say?
I'll put myself out there and maybe I'll get some real estate agent hate and maybe I'll get some people calling me asking me for discounts. But here's kind of how I feel about this, right? Like if you are a ready, willing, and able buyer who I've been working with and you stumble across the right home, it's a FISBO, and that FISBO is just one of the biggest jackasses in the world who's deciding not to pay a commission because he's just trying to save every penny. I cannot represent you legally for nothing, but I can do it at a pretty steep discount. I am also going to hope that my kind gesture of still going out there and representing you like a fierce person and making sure that your best interests are represented and hopefully saving you money will be reciprocated in the form of a relationship that goes on into the future that becomes much more lucrative for me down the road, right? Like
That's how I
now,
always look at it.
yeah, if you're the type, like if you call me off of a sign and they're like, hey, I want you to just go show me this FISBO house and they're not going to pay you, I just want somebody to give me the door. All right, we don't have a relationship. That's a different conversation. But
Mhm.
if you're a past client of mine, if you're somebody who I'm showing homes to, we're going to figure that situation out. And the money part will work itself out over time. Like that's the one thing I've learned, right? Like real estate agents who worry about every little check probably aren't doing enough business, to be financially free from that fear. And for me, it's more about the long-term relationships at this point in my career. So I may represent you and for a very minimal amount just to keep the relationship. But I'm not saying every agent's going to do that, and most of them probably won't. Honestly.
I don't even look at how much my commission is.
I never do.
Honest to God, I never even look. And
I
that's one of those
fill it out when I'm
things.
filling out the contract.
Yeah, I don't even see it when I fill out the contract because it's on the MLS.
Oh,
So
I
I
do
don't
too,
even see
actually.
it until I'm putting it in SkySlope. This is another it's a real estate thing. We have to put our contracts into this system that goes in there. And then I'm like, oh, well, that was a decent commission, or oh, it was only that much. Whatever. I don't
Yeah,
even care. I just want my buyers happy. I could care less. It doesn't phase me.
that is
Yeah,
where I'm at too.
Oh, I so appreciate your sympathy for we in the working class people, of course, because I'm a working class person too. You know, like we all work. If you own your own home outright, would you recommend being? Oh, we
You
already
answered
did
that
this
one.
one. We did that one, Eddie. Eddie, we did
And he was getting the table hooked up.
it. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I want to say, Matt, thank you so much for being a part of this and talking about the housing market in Texas. Because I know a
Yeah.
lot of my other agent friends that are in Texas said there is no There's no sharp decline of houses being sold in their area, especially Austin and around that area. So they're not even seeing more houses on the market, days on the market in some areas. So I was a little confused by that article, but it is happening in some other areas, smaller towns, rural areas. There may not be as much of an uptick, but they're still saying the big dogs, the economists saying, even though it won't be as high of a raise, you're still going to be seeing an uptick in housing prices throughout the country. So that's what the knowers of all say. Matt, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for being a part of this once again. We'll be doing this again next Sunday at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Central Time. Again, if you need a real estate referral, make sure you visit my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com. I look forward to working with every single one of you. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Matt, do you have anything to end with? Do you want to say anything to
if you want to, you can go over and check out my YouTube channel, which now has 6 videos on it. And it's not even the same as Kristina's stuff. So it's more vlog style, like, ooh, feel good stuff, whatever.
It's hype man. Like,
it is.
Matt does some hype man stuff. I've been trying to help him with his thumbnails and his titles. Sometimes he'll ask me for my help. And sometimes I help him.
She knows way more than I do. But anyways, yeah, just Matt Kelderman. If you want to see what I'm doing, go check it out. I'd appreciate some love.
Yep. Everybody say thank you to Matt because I appreciate you. And don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. This little thumbsy upsies. And remember, if you get a message from me and the name is not highlighted, I will never ask you to text. I will never ask you to send money. I do not have a Venmo. I don't have a Cash App. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm never going to ask you for money. It is not me. They're scammers. So stay safe out there, my friends. Stay safe. Bye, everybody. Matt, dance your way out. You got to dance.
Yeah, we got to do this.
We got to do this. Ooh, ooh.
I'm all choppy today, so it's even better.
Oh, look,
there I am. Look at me.
Yeah. And he's not even going to push Ed.
My lame thumbnail.
He's going to make us dance all the way out.
Why are you doing this to me? I'm so awkward.
There you are, Matt. And broadcast.